Okie dokie. So this meeting is being recorded just like they should be for the rest of the year, or at least the rest of the quarter. I don't know what we're doing next semester. But Monday's assignment is just this little handout on biomes and invasive species, because that's what we're gonna be talking about ecology next. So this is just like a little what do you know about all of this stuff? It's just a completion assignment. So the first one is obviously matching. And then the second part is using the internet to answer these questions. Scientists call species that are non-native to an area and are harming the other organisms in an ecosystem an invasive species. One of these invasive species is Caulerpa taxifolia, a type of seaweed. Use the internet, do some research, and read about this invasive species. So you want to, can I do lines? Yeah. You want to Google that guy right there. Caulerpa, I don't even know how to say that. Caulerpa taxifolia. And then answer the questions on the right. So can anybody tell me what an invasive species is? Besides what it said on the little blurb there. Okay, yeah, kinda. We're close. Yeah, it's not really supposed to be there. Yeah, and it invades another ecosystem. So the whole idea behind invasive species is that once the species gets there, it does so well in that environment that it outcompetes other species that were there before it. So I'm gonna I don't know if anybody has ever seen the privet plant. Has anybody seen the privet plant before? Gone gardening, done a privet plant, pulled it out. You don't know? Okay. So privet, have you ever seen this sort of stuff? Yeah, that's privet, and you see it everywhere. You see it everywhere. And it is invasive. It is extremely invasive. And so it got here because some genius was like, hey, these make really good hedgerows. And they do. Like, they obviously here, you can see them being used for like hedges and stuff for nice little gardens. However, privet is very hardy and it grows a lot of places. And it also is one of those plants that can reproduce asexually, meaning if you cut off a little piece of privet and put it on the ground, then that little piece of privet is going to take root into the ground and make more privet. So yeah. Yeah. It's like an invasion of privet. And so what that does is it does no, you do. Yeah, you are gonna do the I'm just talking about it, about invasive species, because it's important to me. It's important to me. So yes, you still are gonna do this sub-plan. But I'm just talking about invasive species. Because I'm passionate about it. So what happens with privet is trying to think of a good sort of analogy or whatever for it. So what happens with privet is, say we have this, just turn it in with Cami. Say we have this garden. This is a garden. I guess we could fill it with here, garden. Owen is here. But I don't know if he can hear me yet. All right, garden. So we have like all of these. We're gonna say like the light green stuff is like all the natural blah 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 blah. It's all the natural stuff that we have growing. And then we have like this teeny little privet plant over here. And over time, this privet plant is just going to keep growing and it's going to start replacing all of the space that the natural stuff takes up. And that puts the ecosystem out of balance. Hey, Passion. Hi, Owen. So we're seeing here that the invasive species is called displacement. So it's basically pushing back. Not only is it making less space for the natural plants, but it's also competing with them for nutrients. And privet is apparently really, really good at sucking up nutrients. And it's a plague. Privet is the devil. We're just gonna say that. It doesn't belong here. If you see it like in your garden, pull it and throw it in the trash. Don't throw it on the ground. It'll just make more privet babies. So for Passion and Owen, we're just doing this little sub-plan thing on Cami. And you're just doing the matching and you're gonna look up Cowlerpa Taxifolia, which I'm gonna and answer the questions about it. So I hope people can see that on their screen. We're gonna zoom in real close. So, and another point I want to make is that not all non-native species are invasive. So, for example, a bumblebee that you see, like it's typically called the European honeybee, is not native to America, hence the name European honeybee. But it's not invasive because, well, one, it actually helps our ecosystems. How does it help our ecosystems? How do bees help our ecosystems? What do you think? They pollinate stuff. Yeah, they pollinate stuff. All right. So they pollinate the plants, and what does that do? It makes the flowers bloom, okay. And then what happens into the flowers? What happens to the flowers? Which become fruit. Very good. And then what happens to the fruit? We eat it. Who else eats it? Animals. Yeah. So there's not just fruit, but seeds. So like not all of the fruit on the seed, the fruits on the seeds that we typically like our fruits that we typically eat, like the good like stuff that we like to nom on, and that animals like to nom on, is actually sort of like a protective covering for it. Um, and we just happen to find it tasty, but not all protective coverings are nice and yummy. So what about a pine cone? Is that nice and yummy to eat? Yes. I hope you're Kayla, I hope that was sarcastic because your poor teeth. Pine cones? I have a feeling y'all are just being silly. But anyway, pine cones, I would not put a pine cone in my mouth, and I'm sure not a lot of other animals would, although they might dig the seeds out of there. Um, but usually by the time a pine cone falls off the tree, the seed isn't in there anymore. So the plants grow. What a like we don't just the plants don't just provide fruit as food. What else? What else do the plants do? Mm-hmm. Okay, so they photosynthesize, make oxygen. They photosynthesize, they grow. What about animals that don't eat the fruits, but they still eat plants? They get the sugars. They get all the sugars from the plant. And then what happens to that animal? Like say we're gonna go with a grasshopper. For number 3, no, you're good. You trying to Google it and it's not working. Yeah, I think it's misspelled. Yeah. Good catch, Kayla. So for people in ninth grade who are listening, this is actually misspelled. It is I believe that's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. So forget about this. That's how it's spelled. For all my homies in the ninth grade. Well, no, I'm filming this conference on my computer so that the ninth graders can see it. So that because I'm not gonna be here later. Oops. I hit the wrong button. Yeah. Okay, so let's say that privet is either the animals don't eat privet or privet is poisonous to animals. What happens to that area? What happens to that ecosystem then? Like, let's say all the grasshoppers. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so or if the animals try to eat it, so if it's poisonous to some grasshoppers, this is a hypothetical situation, by the way. If it's poisonous to some grasshoppers, and then the grasshopper population in that area declines, what happens to the things that eat grasshoppers? Yeah. Yeah. This is the basics of ecology, you guys. Sorry. to go back and right, I'm taking attendance for everybody that just got here. We got passion. Hold up. We got Axel. I feel like we had like a lot more at some point. We had Jalen. All right. So yeah, I mean, like I don't have much more to say other than that. This is sort of like our segue into like biodiversity and ecology. So yeah. And I got everyone in here accounted as present. And feel free to come in if you have any more questions.